3 weeks ago, we talked about unequal relationships. So an unequal relationship, we said, is where one person does all the calling, the texting, the contacting, and the other person does not initiate. So it would seem in unequal relationships, one person loves from the heart and the other one not as much. So we can see this sometimes in relationships with children and parents. Sometimes the parents, they take care of the children, but you get the sense they're not really happy to see the children, right? Maybe they don't even hug the children. Of course, by the way, we can do this with our own parents. We love them out of duty, but we're not really happy to see them. I remember as a child in elementary school, my friends let me tag along, but they only tolerated me, and I knew that. And in marriages, sometimes after many years, husband and wife, they don't really love each other, but they're staying together because of Jesus. So can we think right now, is there anyone in our life that loves us, but their faces don't light up when they see us? And is there anyone that we love, but we really don't come alive when we see them? And of course, this can happen with Jesus. A lot of us love Jesus out of duty, which is good, but there's more. We could love him from the heart. So of course, Jesus wants to heal and improve these relationships, or at least bring peace to them. So we're going to look at the gospel. We're going to make 3 points. First, when John the Baptist heard in prison about the deeds of the Christ, he sent word by his disciples who said to Jesus, "Are you the one who is to come, or are we to wait for another?" St. John is in prison for defending marriage, so he opposed King Herod getting married to his brother's wife. And we can see from this, because he's in prison, he must love Jesus from the heart. Because when you love Jesus only out of duty, it won't be enough to get you to the point of going to prison. Duty only gets you so far. But Christians who go to prison out of love for God, wow, they must really love from the heart. So to love God from the heart means you love him when you get nothing in return. So the first point we're going to make is that you can't force the heart. And just realize God does not force our heart. He gives us freedom. So if we notice, okay, I don't love someone in my life from the heart, or they don't love me from the heart, we need to give it time. You don't want to force it, and you want to pray for them. Because, for example, loving Jesus with our emotions, that's a grace. That's a good thing, but we should ask for it. And some of us have realized that if you give someone, you have to give them many years. Years. And if you do, then they have time to freely encounter love and respond. Second point, St. John is in prison, and so he needs reassurance of Jesus' identity. And so Jesus answered them, Jesus answered John's disciples, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have good news brought to them." Jesus doesn't answer directly, but he says, pay attention to the signs. People are being healed physically and spiritually. What does that mean? What do you think that means? It means that Jesus is the Christ. He is the one prophesied hundreds of years before. So our second point is, pay attention to God's signs. There are signs that he loves us. He created us. He died the most horrible death for us. He keeps us in existence. He doesn't love us out of duty. Look at your life, all the blessings right now in your daily life. He must care for you. So sometimes when we wonder, well then, why are so many bad things happening in my life? Because those are signs too. It could be that Jesus is giving us a chance to love him when we get nothing in return, when life is hard. During Mass, the greatest sign of Jesus' love is that his body is broken for us and he's given for us. And one way to respond from the heart is to sing more. We tend to think that singing is optional for Christians, but when you look at the Bible, look at Christian history, singing is an integral part of following Jesus. And if we want to love other people more, I would suggest smile at them more and purposely force your face to light up. So in this book by Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta, the word smile is mentioned 74 times because it was part of her response to God and to other people, especially when she was in spiritual darkness. In 1961, she wrote this to her spiritual advisor: "A hearty yes to God, a big smile to all. And it seems to me that these two words are the only thing that keep me going. Pray for me, Father, that I may just keep the two words, yes and smile." We can do this during the sign of peace. So years ago, I was angry at one of you. You can guess who it is. But I said to a friend, I said, how can I stand here and say to everyone, the peace of the Lord be with you, when my heart is angry at someone? So because the external sign was already in place, it forced me to work on the heart. But it also works the other way around. Let's say during the sign of peace, we're standing next to someone we're kind of upset with. So we want to love that person more. You just force yourself to smile at them. That's what I do with Deacon Andrew. And of course, you can always reach out your hand to shake hands. And if someone reaches out their hand to shake hands with you, be gracious and receive it, reciprocate. Third, when we look at the gospel, I can see 4 possible reasons for loving people from the heart. 1, because they deserve it. As in Jesus, he is God, he deserves our love. 2, because we might be related to them. So Jesus and John are cousins. 3, because we see something lovable in them. So Jesus praises John. He says, "Truly I tell you, among those born of women, no one has arisen greater than John the Baptist." And 4, because of what they've done for us. So Jesus suffers horribly for us, and John suffers for Jesus. And so we can apply these to Jesus. He deserves our love. He is our brother. He is love itself, and he has done everything for us. Does that move your heart? A little? And maybe we can apply this to other people in our life. Are there people in our lives that deserve our love? Are we related to them? Is there anything lovable in them? Have they done anything for us? I mentioned a long time ago Blessed Alfred Delp, a German priest who fought against the Nazis. Did anyone ever see the 2008 film called Valkyrie starring Tom Cruise? It's about the real story about the assassination plot against Hitler in 1944. Well, anyway, Blessed Alfred was arrested in connection to that plot because he knew the people who were part of the plot. Now, during his time in prison, he wrote long meditations on little slips of paper. They were smuggled out with the help of a sympathetic guard, and he had to write with one hand over the other because they left him handcuffed the whole time. And he wrote about Advent, which was one of his favorite themes. And 4 years before, he said that Advent is a time of being shaken up in preparation for Christ's coming. It's a time that we are called to integrity, a time to proclaim our faith, and it's a time to respond to God with reverent awe. And he called this approach Advent of the Heart. And during his last days, 2 signs stand out. He was 37 years old when he was arrested, and he hadn't yet been able to make his final vows as a Jesuit, and that bothered him. Like St. John in prison, he almost was tempted to believe God had abandoned him because he didn't have the gift to make final vows. So he made a novena that would finish on December 8th, Solemnity of the Immaculate Conception. And providentially on that day, one of his superiors was allowed in, and he is able to make his final vows. And that was such a consolation for him, because he realized that was a sign God had accepted his sacrifice. And second sign, after his trial, after his trial, he was executed on February 2nd, 1945. So we Catholics, we know February 2nd is the feast of the Presentation. Yeah, I think someone said it. It's also known as Candle Mass. So it's the Mass of Candles, just as Christmas is the Mass of Christ. Candle Mass is the Mass of Candles. So it's one of those special feast days where we use candles in the liturgy. And a few years before, Blessed Alfred had given a homily on how candles are consumed in order to give light to others. And people who knew him, when they heard he was executed on the Feast of the Presentation, they saw that as a sign that he was like a candle that was consumed to give light to others. And so those two signs, they are signs that Jesus loves us, that Alfred loved him, and they both come from the heart.